Mark Moyer with Win Again, and you're in the club room right now. And this is part of the Lunch and Learn series, and I'm delightfully excited, thrilled, happy, and otherwise to have the famous, the amazing Laura Barnes in. And just a real quick 2 seconds about Laura. I met her a few months ago. Just really such a talented individual, very passionate about helping student athletes and athletes make that transition. She's a coach. She works at University of Florida. She is a certified athlete development specialist. So many more things. And what you can come in here while I'm giving you all these fantastic comments. And I'm going to have Laura fill in what I didn't say. So what else do you do, Laura, to keep yourself busy?
Yeah, so I work with University of Florida sport management students, helping with career prep. So everything from networking and outreach. I also engage with industry partners to find ways for our students to connect with the sport industry. I also, in my personal business, do coaching based on values. So helping athletes and students and individuals understand their values, understand what they're really going after in life, and how to use their values as an anchor and a grounding point as they pursue those goals.
That's wow. That's a lot, and that's amazing. So I'm assuming you work like 3 or 4 hours a day, then I guess.
Yeah, not a whole lot. I try to limit my work days to about 30 minutes, if at all possible.
Yeah, right.
So I have more
Um,
time for these events, Mark.
Excellent. Oh, I like that. So today what we're going to do is really talk about the two things that we all have control over, meaning you and me and so forth have control over. Um, why don't we jump right in? Give me, well, do you want to start with those, or do you want to give a little quick intro about that?
So I'll give a little bit of backstory.
Yeah.
As an entrepreneur, as an employee, again, I wear a lot of different hats, and one of my roles and was beyond frustrated, like throw the computer out the window, kind of frustrated. And and it was because all I had, multiple projects, just like every entrepreneur does. You have 5 or 6 different projects in the works, and every single one of them was being held up. And I felt like I had done everything I could to move the projects along, to make things happen. And so that level of frustration set in, where I was just like, what in the hell is going on? Like, why can't I get things done? And as a person who likes to solve problems, not create problems, as a person who likes to get stuff done, it was really hard to sit in that position of what's happening? Why can't I make things happen? So that's kind of where, and this kind of ties back in. I've had this theory and this, approach to problems and control for a long time, but anchoring back to what I know and what I believe about control is what sort of helped me release that frustration and move forward. And of course, just like we all know, eventually those problems work themselves out. You get resolutions. It's just not always on the time frame that you are hoping for.
Wow. And so let's jump right in. I mean, look, I think lots of times, especially if you run a business or um, you're a high performer, that sort of thing, a lot of times you'll feel that some things are just out of your control and some things are just careening out of control and so forth. But give me that first thing that you think we can really control.
So the first thing that we have control over is how we show up in the world. That's how we show up to networking events, how we show up to conversations that we have with other people, how we show up in our relationships. Showing up from a place of authenticity or vulnerability, showing up from a place of confidence, showing up as the frazzled person running in 10 minutes late with Starbucks, right? Like how we show up in the world. And that's, again, everything from how you comport yourself, how you present yourself, how you speak, how you carry yourself. So that's the number one thing that we control, is how we as an individual show up in the world around us.
Well, and it's interesting because one of the things that I've always been taught from years ago was whenever you're on the phone, try your best to always speak with a smile and to have a smile, because that sort of radiates to the other side. Or even just when you meet people in person, really try to keep it as positive and so forth, because it's just the sort of the flow that's going to happen. So
Mhm.
spot on that I think that, and look, we all know people that are really positive and others that are really negative. And one of the things that I like to say is that when we talk about our age, age being, people say, oh, it's just a number and so forth. But my feeling is that people tend to, if you're a positive person and a happy person and supportive and so forth, you only age like 18 hours a day. out of the 24. And then the people that are just miserable and they age like 30 hours a day. That's why we know some people that just look older and act older than they are. It's because that's the way they are. So I couldn't agree. I mean, if you can control it, you can control that. That is an amazing thing to control. So perfect. Love it.
Yeah.
All right. And
Number two.
number two, yeah.
So the second thing that we can control in life is how we react to the things that happen around us. There are a lot of things that are out of our control. And the example that I gave at the beginning, all those projects that we're waiting on an email response from someone, or, you're waiting on a client to pay their bill so that you can move forward with the next project, or whatever might be happening in your business, in your life. You're waiting for a friend to respond to that text message if we're going to happy hour or not, and you're getting frustrated because you don't have a resolution. You can't control that. You can't control when people respond and if they respond, but you can control how you react to that. So, in situations where things aren't going our way and we're not getting the answers we want, it's really easy to want to send that snarky email to say, did you get per my last email, I'm still waiting on a response. Or to choose to show up in the sense of, is there anything I can do to facilitate the process? Is there anything you need from me in order to move the process forward? How can we work together to fill in the gaps? That kind of approach.
I love it. It's interesting because I feel like I'm the king of number two in a bad way, where I often get really upset when people don't respond and I can't believe, I thought I'm important. What's going on? Why are they not answering me to this and so forth? But at the end of the day, I end up finding out that it's because, I don't know, they had to run back to school to get their child from whatever it is sick, or something else is happening. So, sometimes we have a feeling that the world revolves around us and what we're doing, when actually it's not someone else that is blowing you off. There are circumstances. So I think that's excellent advice. It really is.
Yeah, and I would also say, one of the things that has served me well in my career and my personal life is choosing the path of least resistance, and not taking the easy way out necessarily, but understanding that certain things are not within my control and there's nothing I can do to change it. But the thing I can control is, again, how I react, and I can choose to pivot. I can choose to take a different path. For example, one of the situations I'm dealing with, one of the people who didn't respond to me, I found out that they lost a loved one. So there was a death in the family. So obviously, like, they get a complete pass for not responding to my email that was very inconsequential. But knowing that that's what's happening and having that understanding, I can now pivot and focus on a different solution, because that solution is no longer, or is not currently, the most viable option. So again, choosing how to respond from a place of, all right, I understand what's going on, and now I can make a different choice based on the information I have. Again, always something that's within our control.
I'm going to put you on the spot a little easy bit, but since you've got all these qualifications and stuff, I'm sure you can answer it. But do you have a bonus one that we can kind of, what are some of the other things that we can control and we can't control, and that sort of thing?
I would say maybe the bonus is you can control, your awareness of situations, meaning what are you aware of that's going on? What are you not aware of? Being aware of what you don't know. Like you said, those factors that you have no clue. Did somebody have to go pick up their sick kid from school? Or, did the dog just have a massive accident in the house and that's currently the priority? You just don't know. So having that awareness is another thing that you can control. And again, kind of grounding in, anchoring in. When I talk about a values-based approach, it's really like, what are the values? Who are you as an individual? And if one of those values is to be like, a calm person, or centered, or empathetic, grounding into that and being like, all right, I believe in being empathetic. How can I use that to support me in this space? So I think, again, being aware of what's going on around us, having the awareness that there are certain things we just won't know. That's another thing that we can control. And again, enhancing your awareness, enhancing your education, we do control that as well. What we choose to learn, how we choose to grow as individuals. And I think that's maybe a bonus number two. So there you go. You got two bonuses.
I love it. Fantastic. Well done. What's the best way to reach you?
So you can reach me at laura.barnes0206@gmail.com. It's my email. You can find me on LinkedIn, Laura Barnes on LinkedIn. Those will probably be the best two ways. And I'm always happy to have conversations and continue the discussion.
Awesome. You're the best. Thanks so much for sharing your expertise.
Thanks for having me, Mark.
Of course, my pleasure.